If you think of minimalism, what do you think of? Do you think of an extreme couponer trying to save every penny they can? Or someone who has no furniture and wears the same clothes every day? Or do we picture someone who focuses on things that add true value and discards the things that don't? A study was done with over 1,000 people and asked them questions related to shopping. Out of the group of 1,000, 79% of them stated the number one reason they shopped is because they want to cheer themselves up. Another study, called the 50-10-40 formula, indicates that only 10% of our happiness is related to things like our possessions, our big home, and our stressful, high-paying job. And the majority of our happiness and contentment is found elsewhere. But that's what's kind of cool about minimalism, is it kind of focuses on the things in your life that add value, and then your goal is to get rid of the things that do not. Simple as that. And what that is different for everyone, and that's kind of the beauty of minimalism. And I personally love minimalism, and I'm a minimalist, of course, myself, but there's some things that I don't like. Like, let's just be honest. A lot of them are misconceptions about minimalism or things that you want to keep in mind. Starting off as a minimalist, you might run into. But either way, these are 5 things that I just don't really like about minimalism. Tell anybody. Well, I'm telling y'all right now. All right, so number 1, and this is kind of a misconception about minimalism in general, it's that people think it's about being cheap, and it's not. Like, minimalism has nothing to do with necessarily being super frugal and penny pinching and stuff like that. The way I describe that is like sacrificing things that add value just to save money, and minimalism is more about, hey, I will spend extra money on something if it adds value into my life. Like, it's worth it, you know? Like, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. That's living a good life. What I say, and this is all that it comes to shopping and stuff like that, is majority of the things that we buy and the majority of the things that consumerism is kind of teaching us is stuff we really just don't need. And I don't want to waste my money on things that I don't use or don't need. So if that means being cheap, then sure. But in my opinion, that means being a minimalist. Booyah. Okay, so number 2 is that minimalism has turned me into hating shopping, which is kind of a pro and a con. It just depends upon the way that you look at it. But ever since I broke the addiction of shopping and kind of wanting possessions and stuff like that to make me happy, now when I do need to actually go and buy something, you know, whatever that may be, it's not often, of course, but when it does come about, I'm always pissed. I'm just happy with what I have right now, and I don't really need anything else, you know? So, like, yeah, shopping, I just don't like it. Minimalism has done that to me. It's kind of a good thing, kind of a bad thing. Yeah, it just depends. Okay, so number 3 is gift giving. It's really more of an awkward thing than anything else, more not necessarily a hate about minimalism, but really I just don't like when people give me gifts. Most of the time it's stuff that I honestly just really don't need, as well as, you know, I have that awkward situation where I'm like, honestly, I'm gonna throw it away, you know, like, thanks, but no thanks. But what I tell people is, instead of gifts, I would rather spend time with you. Like, how about we spend the day together and do things, make memories, build our relationship, interact with one another. And I tell this to also when I'm giving gifts. Like, I don't give gifts. My gift is me. Hey. But no, like, what I'll do is, you know, I hang out. Like, let's have a good day together. You know, Christmas time, it's about being with your family, not about the gifts. So yeah, it's just something that I don't like getting. And as a minimalist, it's kind of an awkward situation where you're like, no thanks, sorry, it's going in the trash or the Goodwill. So yeah, if you're watching this, no gifts. The next thing is I sometimes feel like minimalism has this sort of like, I'm better than you because I have less stuff sort of persona to it. And I don't believe that's true, of course. And I also sometimes dislike that about minimalism, is sometimes it comes off that way. Like, you know, I am better than you. And that's not true, of course. The way that I see minimalism is I have found a way of living that worked for me better than it did previously, with having more. Less actually turned into more, but in different ways. And I would highly suggest for you to give that a shot, but it might not work for you. It just depends. I don't think one is necessarily better than the other, but I can say one is better than the other for my life. And that's all that I really talk about, is my life and what's worked for me. So that's it. All right, so the last thing, and number 5, is that getting started being a minimalist kind of sucks. I'm gonna be honest with you. Like, breaking a shopping addiction, breaking bad habits, managing your money in different ways, and changing your mindset on possessions can kind of be hard at in the beginning. Not all minimalism is like this, and in the beginning, sometimes it's very fun. You get to sell stuff, you get to give it to people, stuff like that. But I will also argue that sometimes it's a little bit hard, you know, for people to kind of break that mindset of like, hey, possessions, they make me a little happy, but they're not all of my happiness, right? I need to find it in other places. And minimalism is a great way to make you realize that, but it also can be a little bit hard in the beginning if you're not careful. So like I said, those are, hate is a strong word. Those are just things that I really just don't like about minimalism, some of the misconceptions, some of the things that I'm asked about, you know, like, hey, is minimalism like this? I'm like, no, you know, so those are just things to keep in mind for those who are interested in minimalism, and I hope you guys have a wonderful day. Yeah.